Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky have just had a critical meeting and the world is watching. What was discussed? Will the US continue to back Ukraine? Or are we seeing a major shift in foreign policy? Stay with me as I break down every detail of this high-stakes conversation. This wasn't just any meeting. The conversation between Trump and Zelensky could have a lasting impact on Ukraine's war efforts and US foreign policy. As we know, Ukraine has been relying heavily on American aid to fight against Russia. But with Trump's influence growing ahead of the 2024 elections, there are big questions about the future of this support. During the meeting, President Zelensky made an urgent appeal for additional military aid. Ukraine has been struggling with limited resources and US support has been a lifeline. However, Trump had a different approach. According to sources, he emphasized that the US cannot continue pouring billions into Ukraine without clear benefits for American interests. Since the conflict began, the US has sent over $75 billion in military and humanitarian aid to Ukraine. But with increasing political pressure and economic concerns at home, could this aid be coming to an end? Trump has always been vocal about his America First policy. He believes that the US should focus on its domestic issues rather than getting deeply involved in international conflicts. Many analysts predict that if Trump returns to office, he could completely change the US approach to the Russia-Ukraine war. In past speeches, Trump has criticized the Biden administration's open-ended support for Ukraine, calling it a waste of taxpayer money. He argues that Europe should take more responsibility instead of relying on the US to fund Ukraine's defense. But is this stance practical? And what does it mean for Ukraine's future? On the other side, President Zelensky is deeply concerned. He knows that without continued US support, Ukraine's resistance against Russia could weaken. Reports suggest that he tried to convince Trump by emphasizing how US leadership in this war is crucial for global stability. During a press conference, Zelensky stated, "Ukraine is fighting not just for its own survival, but for the stability of Europe and the free world." But will Trump and his supporters agree? Internationally, Trump's stance has triggered mixed reactions. Some NATO allies fear that if the US reduces its support, Europe may struggle to fill the gap. On the other hand, some American politicians argue that it's time to shift focus towards domestic issues, like inflation and border security. Experts are debating whether a reduced US role would embolden Russia to escalate its attacks. Meanwhile, Russian officials have welcomed the possibility of a US policy shift, calling it a logical decision. But what does the public think? Social media is on fire with debates about this issue. Hashtags like #SupportUkraine and #AmericaFirst are trending, with people on both sides of the debate voicing their opinions. Some argue that Ukraine deserves unwavering support, while others believe America should focus on its own challenges. So, what happens next? Will Trump's influence push the US towards a more isolationist policy? Will Zelensky be able to secure continued aid? And most importantly, how will this affect the ongoing war in Ukraine? With the 2024 elections approaching, this issue could become a major talking point. If Trump wins, we could see dramatic changes in how the US deals with global conflicts. Now it's your turn. What do you think about this meeting between Trump and Zelensky? Should the US continue supporting Ukraine, or is it time to pull back? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the Trend feed for the latest updates on global politics and trending news. Hit that bell icon so you never miss an update.